I'd like to call to order the work session of the Pflugerville City Council at 6 p.m. on this 12th day of December. Our first order of business is to conduct a presentation of the Pflugerville Animal Welfare Services Department. Rhonda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Rhonda.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a little briefing of our FY23. It's been a little bit since I've been before y'all with an update on the shelter. In 2023, fiscal 23, we took in 707 animals. That is a decrease over the prior year, and much of that is due to the decrease in owner surrenders. We had a 46% decrease in owner surrenders. Much of that is due to council approving, increasing our owner surrender fees for citizens, and many people reconsidered surrendering and chose to rehome on their own. Many of them still made appointments to surrender, but they ended up rehoming before they needed the appointment. So that helped substantially.
Do we ask them to take any kind of special counseling?
So we always ask what their reason for surrendering is, and some people will have behavior issues with a pet. We'll recommend, especially if it's something minor, looking into training or
No,
training.
I'm talking about the person, the owner, not the dog. Because they'll go off and get another pet and do the same thing all over again.
Some certainly will do that.
We should do something though, like here, just in case.
Yeah, I think the fees have definitely helped on people, especially with wanting to surrender multiple pets. They've decided to rehome on their own and then cancel their appointments. So generally, around half the people that schedule appointments now keep those. But 46% decrease in owner surrenders had a substantial impact.
Now, to Mayor's point, I've seen other places where if you bring the dog back, you don't get to adopt another one for
That
a
is
certain
not
amount
our
of time.
policy.
Do we don't have any policy that prohibits or has a
We're not going to
waiting
punish you
period?
for returning a pet. I mean, we do have people that'll adopt, and we give them 30 days that they can, if it's not working out, they're able to return without any fees, without an appointment, for whatever reason that it's not working out in their home. That may be other pets, it may not be getting along, or it's not what, it may be unreasonable expectations that on their part when they adopted. But after 30 days, they have to schedule the appointment if they adopted from us and do it as a regular owner surrender, because we would consider that a successful adoption.
So, Rhonda, maybe to the an alternative point is this: if you said that you do have some people who are usual suspects, maybe put a policy in place regarding them and their return policy.
We've had 2 people probably in the last 5 years that adopted more than 2 and returned all of those animals, and then we put them on a do not adopt because they had unreasonable expectations.
So it's minuscule. It's not.
It's very, very, yes. The vast majority of people that adopt, they may return, and then if they pick another one, they actually listen to us the second time around on our recommendations for animals and what to expect in a home with them, and they work out. So it's very unusual for somebody to adopt and return more than one pet.
What about outside jurisdictions? Do we still have people trying to sneak in
every day? Every day. But as I had told you in the past, we question them heavily on where the animal was found. We'll do a little bit of research. Some people will have it on their own Facebook page. They're trying to rehome their pet, and now they're trying to turn it in as a stray to us. So we did a little bit trying to make sure, especially if they don't live in Pflugerville, and they're saying that they were passing through Pflugerville and found a pet here, the vast majority of those people are not being truthful. So once we start pressing them, most of those people are fessing up that they've already tried to turn in their pet at Austin or a stray they found at Austin, and the shelter refused. And so we give them resources on lost and found pets for Austin to contact, or if it's from another jurisdiction, all the surrounding areas have lost and found pets on Facebook pages that people can post on, and then ask for other citizens to help out with fostering until they can get into the appropriate shelter. So we encourage that when they're from out of jurisdiction.
So on the puppies and the kittens, seems like for when it comes to dogs, only about 20% are puppies, but cats, and over half of those are kittens. Are we experiencing quite a bit of unplanned litters?
So definitely, I mean, a lot of those kittens that are coming in are from feral cats that are having litters in people's yards, and then when they're big enough, they'll turn them into the shelter. A few of those will be owner surrendered kittens, but a small percentage. Most of these are going to be strays, or it could be outside cats that they've been feeding and have had litters, and now they want to turn in. In those cases, we are offering to come set a trap for the feral cat and do a TNR spay-neuter release, and try and stop that problem of those babies coming in.
Are we making headway on that?
I think we are. Each year we trap a good number of cats. Not all citizens ask for that. There's also citizens that are reaching out to like street cats and feral lifeguards and a few other groups out there that are doing trap, neuter, release instead of reaching out to us. But we know they're in the area doing trapping too. And our cat intake is not like, we're not seeing drastic jumps in it from kittens. We have seen an increase in the number of puppies come in the last couple of years, where previously it was fairly unusual to get very many young puppies under 6 months old. It's becoming more common.
Rhonda, is it the same amount of resources necessary for puppies and kittens versus dogs and cats?
So, as far as spay-neuter services out there, there are several groups that help spay-neuter feral cats and community cats for no or low cost. There's only Emancipet that does low cost for dogs, and they also have some mobile clinics that are free on various days in the Austin area. So not as many resources for dogs as there are cats, really.
What was the one livestock?
It was a pig.
And none of the ranchers or farmers around here?
Wait, was it a potbelly, like a pet pig?
It's a pet pig.
Yeah,
It's a
Oh,
yeah.
potbelly.
Have you seen? I mean,
Right.
those pigs are.
He
they're
now
pretty
lives
good,
just down the street
You
at the
can't
vet
eat.
clinic, and he's their pet. She is their pet pig now. Yes, and our outcomes for 2023, you see, those numbers are never equal. We always start our year with a certain, with some number of animals that didn't leave the year before, so those are never going to balance each other. But our live release rate for 2023 was 95.93%. And live release, this is only taking into consideration dogs and cats, not other species of animals. And we take that total number of outcomes of adopted, sent to rescue, released, TNR, whatever, the live outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes to get our live release rate.
How does that compare to live release rates in other
Cities in the area.
So, Austin has been maintaining over a 95% rate, but their intake has been closed or very restricted for 2 years, where ours has not been. Williamson County has over a 90%, but I don't think they're at 95. I've heard that Taylor may be around the 90%, and then Bastrop is under that, but they're working on theirs, so they're improving.
What's
So
the
would it be
industry
fair
average?
to say that
The industry
ours is-
average, it's under 90% statewide, substantially under 90% statewide.
Is that due to the lack of resources for various
Absolutely.
municipalities? and
There's
else
so
don't do it?
many areas that are small or rural counties or cities that don't have the the money that they're putting into spay-neuter services,
I would imagine
or
out
other
in the-
programs.
Out in the county's rural area, they take them to the train station.
Give them a little hug back.
Field response, this year we had 2,480 activities. That's about, I believe about an 12% increase over last year. This includes all of our call types and follow-ups. We had 301 impounds that were made by our officers, and 166 animals were returned in the field to owners without having to bring them into the shelter, which is we encourage.
Do the impounds also translate into citations by the PD?
So some of them do. I mean, some of these will be bad weather, some fencing blew down, first offense where we've never had contact with an animal before. We don't usually cite on those, but for those that we're getting additional calls, then yes, they start citing on those. So some of these will have citations or even multiple citations, but most of these are animals we've not dealt with before. Events this year, we tried to do some outside the box events that or adoption opportunities for our public. Up there is the Home Depot. That was our very first out and about attempt with a dog, with staff taking it out into public places and just during a regular day and showing it wearing its adoption vest. That dog on the very first day got adopted by an employee of Home Depot. And we've had several other successful out and about adoptions. We offer those for an on-the-spot free adoption, and that's been successful. We've also done some not your normal like PetSmart, Petco type adoption events. There is one up there that was at a business where they wanted to give their employees time to come in and visit animals and consider adoption. So it was kind of a closed adoption event. And then our trunk or treat this year is up there as well. We had a very successful trunk or treat with a lot of families and children coming out to the shelter and participating. We this past weekend had our Pictures with Santa, pet Pictures with Santa, not people Pictures with Santa, and that was also a very successful event. And we continue to host a variety of volunteers groups that are from businesses or different organizations that they want to come out and volunteer as a group, but also we have a very robust in-house adoption, volunteer program with individuals regularly volunteering at the shelter, taking animals off-site, showing them for adoption, or just getting them out and letting them de-stress from shelter time. So some of those are our regular volunteers. The group in the middle is a recent Samsung group that came out.
What's the longevity of a volunteer? I mean, your typical volunteer, how long would they volunteer?
So, typically it's either very short or very long. We'll have some that'll come out and they'll do shadowing. They'll fill out all their stuff. They'll do their orientation and shadow with volunteers to get a feel for what it's actually like. And they figure out it wasn't what they thought, and they just don't come back, and they don't do their mentorship. The ones that go through the mentorship generally do stay, and it's usually years. We have quite a few volunteers that have volunteered for many years, and then we've got newer volunteers. They tend to start off in our Sparkling Paws program, which is volunteer to come in and help staff do cleaning, and they get to work alongside and build some relationship with staff first, and then move on into dog walking or working with cats, and those have stayed around. We've only had that program for a couple of years, but it's the ones that have entered that have stuck with it too. So they either tend to be very, very short, a couple of weeks, figure out this isn't what I wanted to do, or they stay a long time. Our Friends of Pflugerville Animal Shelter, they took in $153,000+ this year in donations. Part of that is a lady passed away and left her estate, part of her estate to Friends of, and they, for the sale of her house, they took in some money from that. They have spent about $25,000 in medical, and then some shelter projects, shelter improvements, equipment for volunteers to use on enrichment, and then just small projects at the shelter. They continue to be very active, though. And other projects this year. I mean, we did get our water lines in, new faucets, 2 new faucets, and our cat adoption and cat intake rooms have new AC heating systems in those that are split now. That has reduced our sick cat outbreaks. We've had a really good year on not having a whole lot of illness in our cats other than individual cats since we've taken in the new air system. And with that, any questions? Any other questions?
So you guys haven't had that respiratory issue that's going around?
So as far as for dog respiratory, it's not been seen in Texas, confirmed yet. Maddie's fund had a webinar, I believe yesterday, that I watched on that. It's been in northeast states so far, and they don't really know for sure if this is a new disease. They're still testing. There's a lot of vets thinking that this is just several common diseases that are coming kind of as a package with the animals, and then they're shedding those viruses and they're having shelter outbreaks. So they're still testing on that. We have not seen very much illness in our dogs this year. We had one small outbreak of kennel cough a few months ago, and we haven't had any more. All of the surrounding shelters have been affected by distemper. Austin just last week said they have another distemper outbreak. We have not had a single case of distemper. Much of that is due to we have very strict cleaning protocols, and we vaccinate on intake. So when those animals come in the door, we're going ahead and getting them vaccinated and giving them some immediate, a little bit at least, of protection. So we're also staff watches, and if they see an animal coming in that has any type of symptoms, they immediately move them into an isolation area and observe and determine if they have to go to the vet. But we've had very little illness this year.
And one of the previous slides, you had numbers on how many animals you put down. I don't know if they were cats
Yes.
or dogs or
That is actually cats, dogs, other animals too, like not wildlife, but like rabbits. And that 23, let's see, I can give you kind of a breakdown of what that is.
Could you tell me though who signs off on that? Is that something that it has
So,
to go to your desk
if it's
before it happens?
if it's an animal that is severely injured, and that they know is about to die, they'll go ahead and scan for a microchip. And officers being there Monday through Friday, they contact me anyway. If it's one that they think they can get to a vet with it before it happens and the vet stabilizes, then we do that. All of the ones for any type of behavior issues, we've euthanized multiple this year that had. They were very aggressive and unsafe for us to handle. We evaluate those usually for a couple of weeks and make sure that the animal's not starting to improve, and then I make the final decision on that before we'll approve for one to be euthanized. So we had 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. 11, 12. We had 12 that were euthanized for severe injuries or illness. Several of those were kittens that were on the verge of dying, fading kitten syndrome, that were in foster. And then we had 10 dogs that were severe aggression and bite history with people. One parakeet really severely injured.
What was the disease you were speaking about in regards to dogs? And then you also said something about Maddie's, and what is that?
Maddie's Fund. So the ASPCA, HSUS, and Best Friends all kind of work together, and their Maddie's Fund is a they do a lot of training videos out there for the animal welfare organizations, and they do a lot of promotional things on new ideas to adopt or promote animals, or reduce your intakes, or a multitude of things for not just shelters but rescues as well. They're a nationwide organization, and ASPCA is the main one that handles Maddie's Fund. But they do these training videos, and then just things like that where that you can log in or even go back and watch a video on emerging diseases. That disease doesn't have a name yet. It starts off as a lot of coughing in a dog, and then it doesn't respond to treatment with antibiotics or antivirals, and then it moves into pneumonia. And they've had some animals that, or some dogs that have died, but they have not pinpointed, because a lot of these were shelters that weren't didn't have vets on staff, so they didn't have cases to look at before the animals had expired. But they're doing testing out there. Maddie's Fund has paid for some shelters. UC Davis Court is paying for some testing to be done in a lot of those shelters up north, and see if they can determine whether this is a new disease or not.
Interesting. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Counselor? All right, thank you, Rhonda, appreciate it. Our next presentation is on Fetch a Ride.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here with you. We wanted to take a moment to do a year in review with the Fetch a Ride program. With me is Rick Coach with Trip Consulting, and we'll let him go through the slides and be able to share the information as he's put together. Just to give you kind of an oversight of what's happened throughout the year and what we've seen. The short is that it's been successful. We've seen a lot of people utilizing the operation, utilizing the program, and appreciate the opportunity to continue to bring that into this year. So with that, I'll hand you that. The slide is that way.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, jolly council members and staff. Here for the year in review. For the record, my name is Rick Coach with Trip. Just a quick review of the program. The city of Pflugerville approved and pioneered this program in August of 22 and had the program up and running by October 1st. It increased your service area. I believe the previous program was right around 3.5 square miles of the city, and expanded it to the entire area of the city, and took service hours to 24/7. Over the first year, you had just shy of 5,000 people enroll in the program for the rideshare portion of it. 8,500 total trips, and close to 12,000 passengers. And in this map, you can kind of see the highlighted areas across the city where people are getting picked up and dropped off. The red dots are the drop off, and the green dots are the pickup. The bigger the circle gets, the more rides that are going in and out of that particular area.
What was our projection?
The projected rides for the overall year. I don't know if we estimated like an entire projection of like what the rides would be. We knew that you would grow month over month
Okay.
of what it would be, but it was just going to be depend on adoption and marketing.
So probably let me ask a more pointy question then on that. So we have the total enrollment, we have the total of trips. Based on the industry standards, or honestly, let's just do a juxtaposition to what you've done in previous cities. Where do we fall on those benchmarks?
Where do you, as far as your program and its popularity?
I'm giving you specifics because you essentially insinuated to me that was too broad what I was asking. So I was saying, okay, total enrolled about 5,000, total trips about 8,500. As compared to other cities that have installed this program, where do we fall on that baseline?
You're the second city in the state to implement a program like this. So, I mean, your numbers are unique to you.
I was trying to get you to say that.
Yeah.
We're number one.
Yeah.
Because there are
We're beating Kyle, is what you're saying.
Because there are people who
You're gonna beat Kyle.
Because there are people who are looking at the program and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? How does this compare?" Well, just like you said, this is one, a novel concept, and two, based on that information. Consequently, the information we have right here, it's too early to be able to benchmark what's going on and what goes on from there. Outside of, we have had much more access and expansion than we did in the 3.4 miles that we had in the previous program.
What do you think the data says to you about there being more drop-offs at Tech Ridge than actually pickups?
I don't know what that would say. That'd be a fun thing to kind of get into and think about, and we'd have to look at where they go after specifically. I mean, this is a shotgun look at where everybody goes pick up and drop off. I have some slides on Tech Ridge later on in the program that kind of show you where it's at and how many rides. They're relatively close each time, though, on the pickup and drop offs.
What's relatively?
We can get the slide within 100, 150 rides.
So, if you back up one slide, sir. So, in the other market that you serve, do you see the same geographic displacement, dispersity? Disbursement. Thank you. I mean, there was some concerns early on when council was talking about public transportation. There were some concerns that this was an unfair program that might disproportionately serve a specific segment of the community. But to me, looking at this map, I see all segments of our community utilizing this service. Can you speak to that in terms of your experience?
Yeah, so in the city of Kyle, there's a lot of talk between the west side and the east side, and the east side being underserved. And what you see is it's either closer to a 50-50 across the board, or that side of, whatever is typically not considered served as well, being the side that typically utilizes it more often. So we really base a lot when we look at this of where is the cutout on the map, how much concentration do you have in the different areas, and again, any holes you see are typically the city limits cutting through in and out of there. But if there are neighborhoods, is it reaching each neighborhood? So, a traditional transit model, you're looking for a bus stop that runs all around town and can pick people up. Is this serving the entire area, and are people able to get picked up and dropped off all over town, and are they doing that? Reliability and performance is extremely important with the program. You started the year with about a 12-minute wait. Ended the year with an 8.5-minute wait on an average of 9.36 minutes.
What do you attribute that to?
Time of year, sometimes it goes down, it goes up. Wait time goes up in the winter, typically, but as more drivers come in and the program is adopted, you're getting your driver economy is coming into the area. They're understanding that there are more Uber rides happening here. It'll keep drivers closer to the area and increase the response time.
Are we tracking the number of available drivers in the area?
Well, we track response time, so the drivers available in the area always changes based on what's going around
Sure.
in the area. So I watched, I believe it was last meeting y'all had where you talked about Deutschenfest
Mhm.
and it butting up against what was it? Next year it'll be UT football game
It'll be Georgia against Georgia and F1.
and F1.
Prediction here.
Right,
Wow.
right.
Wow.
It'll be a
Wow.
bit. It's going to be a
That
busy
might be a
weekend.
problem. That might be an issue for him.
And so because Uber drivers go where their rides are at,
Sure.
we're probably going to see during that weekend an increase
Higher
in
wait times.
time it takes for drivers to respond
Right.
because they're going to get funneled to where, rides are
The
happening as
money
quick as
is.
possible.
It's good to know. Is there anything that we can do for that? I mean, that's just
Yes.
okay.
So what we do when Deutschenfest happens is we let Uber know what's going on and try to incentivize the drivers to understand that there are rides. We make them aware that you have an event that brings 5,000 plus people in over the weekend, and then what you can also do to help with that is with certain events you create your voucher specific to that event, and if you do something that incentivizes people to use that specific voucher, it'll also increase the demand. The more demand, the more phones that are hitting Uber to get rides, those drivers will come into that area as long as they know that there are rides happening frequently.
Well, and once they drop someone off at Deutschenfest, they're going to get the next ride, which is probably going to be someone else who wants to come
Right.
to Deutschenfest because they're going
to stay in the
they're
area.
going to start consolidating in the area.
Mhm.
I think that's how we do it. Is we build momentum.
So Rick, you bring up you spawn an interesting thought for me. Because we can set specific programs for and around events, and if one of our goals for Deutschenfest or Pflugerville Pride or Slice of Pflugerville or whatever major event we're having here, can we, an old marketing term, puffer fish our geofence so that we can say for the day of the event, we're going to go all the way out to Georgetown. We're going to go all the way out to Taylor. We're going to go all the way down to Bastrop. We're going to work on bringing the regional people into Pflugerville to spend money here. Can we talk with you, or can staff talk with you about doing specific events like that and marketing towards those?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and we have been over the past year. We've created specific vouchers for Deutschenfest this last trip where it had a designated specific drop-off point. The thing that we need to concentrate on is differentiating that voucher versus the normal Fetch a Ride voucher because it will be a separate voucher.
Right.
So when you have something that costs the exact same amount or really encompasses the same geofenced area, it confuses the rider as to why they need that specific different voucher for Deutschenfest. And the reason that we wanted to create that one is we wanted a specific place for pickup and drop off at the park.
Right.
And so you saw a little more than half the people who used it for Deutschenfest use the current Fetch a Ride voucher. And then, a handful of people use the special Deutschenfest voucher.
Does Lyft have a sort of push notification to users of the app that says, hey, here's this event with special ride share opportunities that we can leverage?
What we're working on right now with Uber is a program where when people drive into your geofence, they can automatically be pinged with that voucher coming into the area in which we geofence. So that is currently being worked on for this next year. They're running it through, basically their legal permissions department on what's
Oh, wow,
allowed
that's good.
within their accounts. But it is something that they've been
Wait.
made aware that Pflugerville would like to at least have access to if they were to create that.
Thank you.
But but would we want everyone to be pinged? even maybe if they're just coming through, right? And
Right.
then that doesn't limit it to our residents and uses up the funding faster.
And that was some conversations
yeah,
that we've
yeah,
had
yeah, wait
as
on
well
that.
with
Right.
when we talked about Slice and we've talked about the other programs. Was what are things that we want to do? What are the options that are available? If somebody came into the hotel, maybe if they came into that particular geofenced area, then they would get an alert that, hey, you have this option. Where they see a flyer on the table, but then they may also get hit with that ping. So those are things that we have
It's
talked
interesting.
about.
Yeah, there's so much you can do. So from like you said, like a CVB standpoint, you could just geofence your hotel areas there if you were only targeting those, and you can also sometimes do it by a specific period of time in which they are in that geofence for it to trigger as well. So yes, you might not want everybody who rides through Pflugerville
Correct.
to get dinged.
Maybe
Yeah.
if they hang out in Stonehill for a while. Yeah, like that.
Jeremy, can I pick up on what you said there about advertising to hotels? What are we doing in terms of,
Yeah,
because
hotels.
obviously those are people who are, for the most part, they're temporary residents of Pflugerville. What are we doing about letting those people know about the availability of the Fetch a Ride?
Yeah, so there's a flyer. There are flyers that are placed out at the hotels that are similar to this. That gives them the opportunity for a person to come in and to be able to see that those things are there. We've talked to the hotels as well as some of the bars and restaurants. Just saying, is this something that you would want to have out there to be able to utilize?
And how much uptake are we getting on that? How many of the hotels have said, "Oh yeah, let me have 300 of those flyers
all
a month"?
of the hotels that we've offered the information to, I believe, have taken it and have appreciated that.
So nobody said no. We refuse free rides.
No.
Okay.
What about the bars? Because I'm thinking, what a great way to avoid DWI, right?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
we've had
Right,
conversations
right,
with them as
right.
well.
You've got some of those, right?
Especially there,
Some of
And-
those flyers with the Ghost?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir. We do.
good. All right, cool.
And I mean, that helps us to also market our city as one of the safest cities in the region, back to our main goals and missions, by using Fetch a Ride in the bars.
Your service days and hours are 365. The coolest part about these numbers that we pulled was the after hours trips, basically trips that are happening after 7 p.m. and before, they should say 6 a.m. on there.
Okay, that's what I was confused.
Saturday, and including Saturday and Sunday. So getting back to your bar conversations or late nights, you can see the number of rides that have taken place throughout the year after 11 p.m.
So trips between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, and all day Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. 47% of your trips are taking place in that window.
Wait.
6 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah, you mean 6 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Probably.
Probably, right?
If that's the after hours.
Yeah.
I believe your program runs till 7 for the wave. It runs up against the wave. It starts at 6 a.m. and ends at 7 p.m.
But my apologies. But the asterisk for after hours says trips between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m.
So that would be excluding those hours,
Yeah. Is that
Right, it's
The opposite
excluding
of
outside
Okay.
of those hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what.
the inverse.
So you got a heavy dose of rides happening over the weekend and throughout the night.
I would be
We've even
curious
got
to
some
see
at
the
3
weekends
a.m.
specifically.
It's
Me too.
Oh yeah.
not a lot of usage at 3 a.m., but frankly, that you've got any usage at 3 a.m. is kind of shocking to me.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's frequently
That's
the people who've
Who's
been
up at
working.
3?
Yeah, those are people that. Dude,
That's the
have
people
you
who've
seen-
been working till 2
Yeah.
a.m.
A lot
going
of
Just
people
home.
at work.
See how FedEx is going.
Stop by any C store
Yeah.
in town.
Amazon. Yeah.
And what?
Stop by any C store in town, right?
Walmart.
They're not busy
Yeah.
at 3.
They're all leaving the goat.
They're not busy, but they may be going home.
Yeah. No, that's true.
More often it's the ones at the bar.
You started your ride share last year in October with 293 rides for just the ride share ended the year with a little over 1,200
Wow.
rides in September. So that's the rate of growth that you can see the program
It's working.
trending on. To go back to your point earlier, Councilman, the ridership and enrollment for the city of Kyle after the first year, I believe, was around 2,600 riders that first year. So you've basically almost doubled that ridership enrollment.
So we built on a good model.
Built on a good model. Yes, yes. You have average 415 rides happening. 415 enrollment every month, and about 12% of those folks take their first ride every month. You have months where there'll be spikes. That 78 spike there is because of the slice of Pflugerville.
Come
Oh,
on.
right. Yeah.
But and I believe I looked at the numbers for this past October, and you had a bump up to 105 new unique riders enter the program. And I believe that's because of Deutschenfest.
For Deutschenfest. Yeah.
Amazon trips. So your drop offs at the Amazon facility were 400 or 542, and your pickups were 312.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm thinking that Amazon's consuming workers, but that's not. They're not. They're getting a different ride home.
Stop.
Yeah,
They disappear.
They're not disappearing.
That's literally
We're
that
not
you said out
people
loud,
at
the quiet
Amazon. Don't mean to project that.
Call Chief O'Malley to
It's
go
a
do
safe
look over there.
environment.
What's going on?
You'll be okay.
Those robots are not Terminators.
No.
So wrong. So wrong.
Tech Ridge continues to get some great traffic with the pickup and drop offs. So pickup is at 946 for the year, drop off at 792. Stonehill, you can see where everybody comes from to go to Stonehill and where they concentrate in that area. So unbelievable usage from throughout the city to take the program to
Which I would assume
Yeah.
Cap Metro would say thank you to you on that.
Yeah. Everybody goes to Stonehill. Everybody goes from Stonehill back home.
They don't disappear.
Your wave component of the trip. So we've been talking about just the rideshare aspect of it. Of the wave rides, you had almost 3,100 wave rides.
Wow.
Of those wave rides with those after hours, 33% were in those after hours.
And what did you
portion.
say again was the numbers for the rideshare in Kyle the first year?
2,600 enrollment
So,
into the program.
Yeah, I'm just pretty
So
simple.
at least no one's doing a wave ride between midnight and 5, huh?
Two of them did it at midnight this entire year. Then you didn't have anybody. Basically 5 o'clock hour 3. Yeah, but it is available for them. If someone calls at 2 a.m. in the morning and needs a wave trip, it is available.
Maybe Scott and White.
What's the
To the hospital or something?
Do we have the
Yeah,
response
they
time?
do.
or
Mostly
something?
seems to be the midday riders, though.
It's probably cheaper
That makes
than
perfect
calling
sense.
an ambulance.
I'm guessing 2
Can you, what was the response time on the wave rides?
Oh, our response time is about on par with the Uber rides.
Okay.
They're on call. They're on call,
Okay,
ready
so
to go.
it's around that 9:36.
Yeah.
Just
10
making
minutes
sure.
or less.
Next year, you may want to just break that out. Just
Do we have a separate map for the wave rides in terms of from and to?
I can get you a separate map for that. Yeah.
Okay.
The total trips, when you add both the ride share and the wave together, you're at 11,500 and change. The average cost for the ride share is $6.75 throughout the total year. Your last month in September, the cost per ride fell to under $6 for September this year. The wave cost.
What? Why?
Uh,
Why would it drop that much?
Don't complain. Just,
Yeah.
let's keep
Shorter
going.
trips.
Let's just keep going.
That the answer comes up later.
no, I mean it's just usage. I don't know why exactly it goes down, other than response times are quick. People don't have to wait. Sometimes the further out an Uber is, the more expensive it is to come pick
Okay.
somebody
It's
up.
probably more
Gotcha.
They are
drivers in the
here,
city.
local. They can give the ride quickly.
Gotcha.
Um,
That makes sense.
It's also the proximity of where they're coming from and where they're going, right? So the closer you are to a location, it costs less money to utilize that.
But that is the lowest I've ever
There's-
seen it for the cost of a trip in a city. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your $4 are on top of that. The four,
Right,
not
right.
your $4, the rider's $4.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that average that month was, $9.96.
So people are using it more, so there's less of a congestion charge.
Mhm.
So it's a lower per charge trip. Okay.
So the program's working.
Okay. Great.
Oh, look at Caesar. So hold on, wait. Caesar New Hampshire get some evidence for people who complain.
Heck yeah.
No, I'm impressed by the change on the wave rides.
Can you believe that?
Cut that in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, wave ride.
That's-
Dropped
I mean, I
almost
guess
in half.
they discovered, or like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah.
So the wave rides are
Sure.
expensive at the beginning because we have to pay for the after hours aspect of it to keep it on call 24/7. So the price of the ride decreases dramatically with volume. So you saw your volume pick up over the year on that, and somewhat plateau right now, but it's at a good spot where the average is under $40 per ride right now. The yearly average was right at $41, and when you combine both of those two together, the average cost per trip to the city, including wave, is less than $16, and that's still with 27% of your total rides being wave. As the program continues to grow, the rideshare rides will increase, driving that cost per ride down significantly. So you're going to continue to see that total cost per trip continue to fall. You also have a 24-hour call center that people can use year-round with, what we like to call concierge style service, where there's always somebody to talk to anybody who needs a ride who doesn't have the app or needs to call in for a wave ride itself.
What are the wait times for that call center?
To get through?
Yeah.
It's immediate.
Call it right now.
Go for it.
Call.
8675309.
Adoption of the program, as you've seen before with other presentations, is as easy as clicking the QR code, as long as you have your account set up through Uber. And that basically concludes my presentation, and I will send it back over to Jeremy for the end.
Yeah, so just wanted to highlight some of the special events that we have done this year. We did do the Slice of Pflugerville, and for that particular event, we did not have a cost to the individuals that wanted to utilize that. We also, I believe, removed the geofence on that one. It was just within our ETJ, so anybody that was out there, we actually saw that there was not a lot of ETJ use. It was mostly the use by individuals in the city. The Deutschenfest number that's listed there, as Rick mentioned, this was representative of the actual trips of folks that utilized that app or utilized that additional link. There were others that went and utilized the regular rideshare, their Fetch a Ride. What we tried to do on this one was offer kind of that incentive of if you utilize this new link, you weren't penalized against your trips. So if you wanted to go to Deutschenfest, you were able to utilize that without having to count against your 10 trips that were allowed during that month.
I'd wonder if you would have done the same thing you did for Slice of Pflugerville at the ETJ and Deutschenfest, if it would have been the same result. Because at least, Slice of Pflugerville is new, but Deutschenfest is a known commodity.
Well, I can only say that I used my regular Fetch a Ride voucher, so I guess I'm not included in those 34 trips, although I did take the program to Deutschenfest.
Yeah, and one of the challenges also that we had with the Deutschenfest was because we were trying to land everybody at a very small location and trying to announce where that pinpoint was as the program, as the festivities went on. We were able to get that resolved and to make sure that people were landing at the right spot. So it's hard to try and get them at one little location and add the new link and all of that kind of stuff with the new program. But it was definitely something that we felt like was beneficial, and we'll continue to learn from it and expand as we go on. For this next slide, for 24, so our budget in 23 was at 180,000 that was dedicated to go towards the actual program. That was counted towards the rides. For 24, the program was increased to $270,000. What that does is it continues to offer the rides without increasing the number of vouchers, but this will give us hopefully help deal with we're seeing a lot of organic growth, in the program, and trying to make sure that we account for that growth and see what the trend is before we start to, if we start to see some leveling off or whatever, then we can start talking about additional vouchers. But that's the plan for this year, is to just continue to monitor those trends. We did see some leveling with the wave rides towards the end. We're also going to continue to collaborate with PCDC and look at opportunities to work with the other businesses in the community and see if there's something that they can do to help us, supplement this particular program. We offer the 10 rides, as you saw. A lot of people are utilizing it to go to Amazon or some of these other locations, and so maybe those businesses are willing to have something in addition to it to give them additional rides.
Jeremy, Rick, last year, I remember a specific conversation about how Kyle used it to go to the airport in year 2. Are we taking that into consideration too? Because that's something I've heard from a lot of people saying, well, why don't we do it at the airport, given how interesting parking costs have become at the airport?
Yeah, that was a discussion piece as well when we were talking about budget and trying to look at what is it that we offer, and how do we ease into it, without putting tons of money in and then seeing, is it going to work or not work. But that was something that you all had talked about, that they had offered, Trip had offered as a suggestion. Maybe something to ease into it is just to look at the regional airport, our local airport.
The executive airport?
Yeah, thank you. If that would be an option there. But it's something that we can look into, if you'd like to use that.
And the drive all the way down to ABIA that's a long, expensive
trip.
drive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just looked it up, because that's normally the trip I'm taking when I'm Ubering, and it's $35 right now.
I was about to say, literally, it's not that long.
So if we were talking about, we'd still be using a $10 voucher, and I don't see the value in subsidizing that trip from 35 to 25. Is that a benefit to our citizens?
Yeah.
Worthy of on par with what we get,
Especially
getting
when
people around town.
you're expensing that trip anyway.
Well,
so.
you're already
Yeah.
you're doing it no matter what.
Right.
So
Did
The,
you
the
say
thing-
you're expensing that trip?
Well, you are. If you're making a business trip to the airport, that's an expense.
But you said a business trip. That's an assumption.
Well, it is.
Well, we're talking about Doug.
So half of them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You're going on vacation.
But the thing that I'm curious about is
Funeral,
so
yeah.
utilization of the 10 rides. I think we looked at a number last year, 7 point something. What are we seeing in terms of my 10 free rides per month? What are people using of those 10?
Of your unique riders that use it, about 10% max out their 10 rides
Right.
every month.
That's important to know, because I've heard people complain that it's not enough, but you're only telling us only 10% of people actually
10% of the users.
Yeah.
So-
and that's
so-
10% of the people who rely on it most.
Mm.
Right. And so one of the things I would like for us to consider is perhaps doubling that ceiling, making it 20 rides per month, with the idea of eventually going to no cap, right? Because you'll see it'll float and level out at a number, and so that number may stay the same even though we raise the cap, because we attract more people that use it once a month, like I do, or twice a month or whatever, versus the people that need 10 trips a week to get to work. And so I'd like for us to perhaps consider doubling that cap for the next year, and measure the impact on that and see how that strains the budget.
Well, Jeremy, I heard you're already doing that with the increase in budget to 270,000.
We increased the
planning to.
budget to 270, but we did not increase the number of vouchers. And so the idea is to see where we go with this continued growth and in the usage.
Have
for
we
right
contacted that 10% and surveyed them?
now. No.
Because I think it'd be interesting. I mean, to what Jim's saying here, I mean, obviously, if they're maxing out it, that means that there's a necessity, and so consequently, you know, what would they want more from the program? And I think at minimum, you know, increase in the number of vouchers.
Well, it's not a scientific survey, but the folks that have talked with me directly have said that they use it to get to and from work.
Yeah.
And so they would like to see more rides per month.
And when I said no, in the TDP, when we had those conversations and we were going through the surveys, those were things that were included in there too, and I apologize for saying.
Yeah, and absolutely, I think we should bump that number up. I imagine what we're seeing with people disappearing into the black hole that is Amazon, that's probably individuals who have gotten a ride there, but now that they're there, they can share a ride home. They can carpool and an Uber back.
Or
So
as they
we
get
got
off
fewer, and they
work
can share their vouchers.
There's 3 people getting picked up going
And then
back.
they can share their vouchers going back. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a natural plateau in there. I would like to see us increase the number of vouchers in a way that we start to find that. I don't think we need to survey the people because they're going to tell us they need more vouchers. So
Well,
if that's what we're going to do,
part of the issues I know when it comes with transit is that it requires that scientific information, some things right there to get subsidies and other things on that as well. So,
Sure.
but I mean, I am laughing still about this whole black hole at Amazon thing. But yeah, I think that makes
Jeremy,
sense.
I do have one more quick question
Yep.
for you as we get close to time. Can you tell me, based on the averages, this was 183,000. You said 180,000 in the budget. Compared to our previous Cap Metro program in terms of number of rides and cost, where do we sit?
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Did we get
But
more rides with Cap Metro or fewer?
No, I would imagine that we had fewer rides.
fewer.
With
We got
the
fewer, and
Cap
the number was around
And the
270.
price was it about twice as much with
Yes.
Cap Metro than it is now?
Yes.
Well,
Twice.
Our
Three
amount
times.
in, but you figure the
Our
federal
amount,
funding
maybe
that we
3
matched.
Yeah,
remember?
see, yeah, and so I keep
We
thinking
only
about
put 60%.
I
in.
keep thinking about what we put in as
Yeah,
compared to
no,
what we put as well.
the actual amount was much higher.
But that wasn't actualized for us. That was actualized for the
Right, that's true.
operating
You're trying to
entity.
do cost. You're trying to do apples to apples. Look at the cost.
All right, that's kind of what I was.
Jeremy, could we
Trying
get that number in the weekly?
That would be
next
pretty
week?
important.
The cost per ride, per rider.
Because I have an
The
inkling
overall
we're
cost
going to hear about this
comparison, on
presentation.
those.
Just saying.
They will have figured
Get
it out.
Doug Yeah.
that data he wants.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
much.
All right,
All right.
we are 2 minutes.
2
ahead of
minutes.
schedule.
2 minutes to start. 2
We're
minutes to
adjourned.
start. Doug,